Eric Schneebly came to our house from Switzerland, and he was kind of like a long-lost brother to me from pretty much the day he stepped in our house. We had a lot of fun together, and to this day I think of him regularly. He sent this to read about Dad. His English is not quite as good as it was when he was here. We might have to reinterpret some words. This week, a beloved friend and family member got lost. He went to heaven. I owe him and his family so much. It's almost 30 years ago that I had the opportunity to spend and enjoy a year with Cecil and his family. I got integrated into the family like a full family member. Together with Mike, I passed an unforgettable year with this formal family. This year was very important to me for my later life because I got back home with a lot of life experience. A large part of this experience was given to me from Cecil, who I was allowed to call Dad. What in matter of fact he was for me during this year and also later on. I am a person that had the luck to have two dads and two moms. Thank you for everything you did for me. I have moved into the digital age and I no longer have a notebook. So I have notes on my phone. I've spent a long time trying to figure out exactly what to say about my father because, fortunately for me, he was always there. And we did quite a bit of stuff together. And I enjoyed all of it. Well, most of it. Sometimes he beat the living daylights out of me. But I'm a better person for it. Throughout my life, I have become a professional hodak. Because when Dad was working on something, he'd say, "Here, hold that flashlight." Right here. One of my fondest memories of my dad was when I was really small. We lived over in Reform in the duplex apartments. And he had a van that he needed to get the motor working in, and he was in the process of rebuilding this motor. And in a driving rainstorm, decided that it was time to go get some work done on it. So he had the cowling off of the van and stuck in the back, and all the other parts and pieces stuck in the back. He threw me into the passenger seat with the flashlight, said, "Hold that." And he crawled under the van to do some work on this in probably 4 inches of rainwater. I don't know about that's true. But he was determined to get it done, so it was going to get done regardless of the weather. Now, there's a reason that Dad is not here today, and that reason is the wind's not blowing, it's about 70 degrees, sun's shining, and there's fish to be caught. So, if Dad had a choice, he wouldn't be here today, he'd be out fishing. He used to wake me up at 4:30 in the morning to go fishing in Demopolis. There's no telling how many fish we passed driving from Reform to Demopolis. But we had to go to Demopolis. We got down there one day and we're out fishing, and we hear two old grumpy people arguing with each other. And Dad's like, "That sounds like Woodrow." I said, "Yeah, it does." And we're talking, and sure enough, a few minutes later, around comes the corner, there's Woodrow and Woodrow's best friend, and I can't for the life of me remember his best friend's name. But they were in the boat, and Papa had fell out of that boat twice that day because he was determined to have a lawn chair in an aluminum boat.
I remember that.
One of the coolest things that me and my dad did when I was growing up is my dad, when I was in the 6th grade, my grades stunk. I had a horrible time in the 6th grade. And my dad told me, he said, if you'll get your grades up, I'll buy you a motorcycle. And I was like, deal. So he bought me a motorcycle, and in the course of about a year and a half, we owned 5. And one time, my dad and I got on our motorcycles, and we rode to Huntsville, Alabama together. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. And I got to do it with my dad. Another thing that he promised me to do one time was after I'd spent countless hours pulling fish out of our pond and putting them in the freezer so that Julie could go to Europe.
Much appreciated. I appreciate your hard work.
After we got her on the plane, my dad sat me down at the kitchen table and he said, Mike, you never once said, why not me? And because of that, if we ever get an opportunity, we'll send you to Europe. I was like, well, that's cool, but I don't see it happening. Well, a few years later, I was going to school over here in Columbus, Mississippi, and my science teacher decided that he wanted to go to Europe on a 10-day summer vacation, see Europe, see everything you can see type tour. He said, is there anybody that wants to go? Yes, there is. I came home and I told Mom and Dad that I wanted to go to Europe, and the science teacher was getting a class together, and Dad was like, but he sent me, true to his word, and I had a great time because of it. Now, Julie mentioned the fact that Dad always said that we would win on our own merit. My dad told me that I would never, ever beat him in a game of chess. And I never did. Because one day I played him to a draw, and we hadn't played since. No matter what I tried, I could not get my dad to play me a game of chess. I did finally beat him in a game of pool, and it was... Yeah, this is kind of funny because we remember these things. But I played Dad a game of pool when I was driving across country with my family. We stopped in West Texas. Mom and Dad had set their camper up so that we could have a convenient place to stop for the evening. We stayed a couple of days there with them, went to Carlsbad Caverns. I got to go through Carlsbad Caverns with my mom, my dad, and my 2 children. A trip that I had done with my mom and dad earlier in my life. It was kind of cool. And Angel even went down in the cave, that's a blessing from God. All but my dad and I went down to the little recreation place. We played a game of pool, and I beat him. I beat him 2 or 3 games. And he was getting frustrated because when he was trying to shoot, the lens of the frame of his glasses was getting in the way. So he took his glasses off, and I didn't win a game after that.
If I'd only known. Oh, that was the key.
My dad was a really cool guy. I really enjoyed being around him. I enjoyed the fact that when he told you that he was going to do something, he did it. When he told you he wasn't going to do something, he wasn't going to do it. One of the things that I really enjoyed remembering, and this is one of the things that happened when Eric was here, is my dad told me one time he almost wrecked his motorcycle. He was riding down the road. He looked off to the side of the road. He looked back, and there's this truck in the middle of the road. So he locks up the tires, slides up right next to the driver's door, looks over at the guy, and at that moment, my dad made up his mind that he was not riding a motorcycle anymore. And from that day on, he didn't. And I did. And he hated every day of it because he was scared I was going to wreck and kill myself. And he came up to me and asked me if I would sell the motorcycle and put the money towards a boat, that he would buy one big enough for me to ski behind. I was like, sounds like a deal to me. So he bought a boat, and when he wasn't fishing, he was dragging me up and down the 10-ton waterway skiing. And I would ski for miles upon miles upon miles with my dad just dragging me up and down the water. It was an amazingly good time. I have a lot of great memories of my dad. I hope that all of you do too, and I hope that you remember him for a long time.